Welcome back to the Collaborative IEP podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Barlow, and I'm so happy you're here. That was the first time I've said that. A new intro for the new name to the podcast, the Collaborative IEP podcast. This has been a great week, friends. I have been so excited about this rebrand and this name change. I've been so excited about shifting the focus away from me, and really to not only you, but what you want. And this podcast episode is really more about what you want because I want for you to know that you're heard. Um, if I were to be completely honest, I would tell you that I wish I heard from you more. I wish that we were a little more interactive. And if there's one bit of homework I could give you, it would be that you are a little more interactive. In fact, to that extent, this week on social media, there are going to be a ton of giveaways. And the purpose of that is to get us talking and to get us to be more interactive. From my perspective, from a business perspective, I'm asking what's going to happen this week on social media, and it already is happening, is almost every day I've got a giveaway planned. I'm going to be giving away products like my special education and advocacy lab. That's my like day long nuts and bolts, start to finish IEPs 101 digital course. You don't have to do it in a day. It's totally on demand. You could do it over the course of a year if you wanted. Um, I'm going to be giving away several copies of my inclusion workshop and my behavior workshop. I'm going to be giving away all kinds of fun stuff. Because from a business perspective, I want to make sure that the brand change, that the name change is getting out there and that people see it and they know that I'm still here and that we're still here. We just have a new name and that the new name really is for you. Um, but also I want to hear more from you. I want this to be more of a process. I'm really lucky because I'm still in the industry. I this week I've gone to I think 4 IEP meetings and I've had countless meetings with clients that are doing this and I have a child that's on an IEP. I was at his school today actually because little stinker went and put in his hearing aids for his teachers. And so I was like, well, guess what? I had a mediation cancel. I'll go up there. Um, and so and guess what? He put him right in, the little stinker again. Anyway, wha what we're gonna talk about today is the result of, some market research and what we're gonna do about it. So, a few weeks ago, couple months ago, I put up some market research stuff um, on Instagram and Facebook, and I asked people to conduct a study. I got lots of answers, which was awesome. A plus on interaction, family. And the results of that helped me to curate some better services for you all. And if I could summarize them in like a smidge, I hope this talks to you, right? Like I wanted to get this to you in the first 5 minutes of this episode. So here we are. We have a minute and a half until we get to 5 minutes. Um, we as special education parents, as parents in special ed, we are exhausted. We are really frustrated. We don't feel like we're heard. We are completely intimidated by the special education process, by what actually happens in school, by the laws that govern it, by the fact that we're like entangled with the government because our kids have disabilities. Um, we hear from a million different places that we are inadequate, that we aren't good advocates, that we aren't telling schools what they want, that we need to like pick up the pace and that's incredibly intimidating. Um, and then to put all of that together, like then we've got this other really strong interest of finances, right? Like if we were to even just buy all the books that we needed to learn about special education advocacy, it would be expensive. And we don't know which ones are good and which ones aren't good. So there's a little trial and error. Um, and then in addition to that, heaven forbid we have to hire an attorney or advocate, right? Because that's super expensive. And then like advocacy is something that we don't want to do. It's not something that we like wake up every day and say, gosh, I can't wait to talk to my kid's school team. Um, and so what I'm hearing from you is that you don't necessarily want these super comprehensive products that I currently have. You don't want an hour and a half on behavior. You don't want an hour and a half on inclusion. That's too much. Even an hour and a half training on inclusion is too much. But if I can get you 12 to 20 minutes on a really specific topic about inclusion or about behavior supports or about a legal topic or about any number of topics in special education, you're interested in that. Um, and so that's what we're making for you. Now, I have a couple of things to say about that before we dive into what we're making for you and like what you went and what I made. Um, so I want to keep talking to you about how you're feeling. One thing I want for you to understand, though, is I've done a ton of research and I've had a ton of experience, right? Like, I do go to an average of, I don't even know how many meetings I go to, but colloquially speaking, my experience tells me I probably go to at least 2 meetings a week. And I interact with probably at least 10 families a week that have kids on IEPs, maybe 5 families, 10 meetings. Anyway, I am besides my friends, right? Like, I'm in this community. So I am extremely familiar with what's happening in the special education world right now. I acknowledge that I have a unique personality where, like, I have a problem and I fix it, and I do, like, major deep dives. I'm just really energetic, and that's kind of my personality. But I also understand when something intimidates the heck out of you. So I want to tell you about something that intimidates the heck out of me so that you know that I understand what's happening. Because I don't feel this way about special ed advocacy. I do feel it about taxes. I am so intimidated by taxes. It's so foreign to me. There's such a big learning curve. Tax professionals speak a language that I do not speak. Um, and there's like a horrendously emotional component to it because taxes are tied to money. Money is emotional. There's like a pride thing attached to it. Run this parallel to special ed, right? Like there's a pride thing attached to special ed. There's an emotional thing tied to special ed. But with taxes, there's this pride thing because it's my business and I'm so proud of my businesses and I'm so proud of how hard I work. And then like it feels like somebody just comes in with a big old dump truck and no, not a dump truck, like a big scooper that scoops out all my money. And I don't feel empowered. And so I think the way that I feel about taxes with my business is similar to the way that some people feel about the majority of people feel about special education. And it does leave you feeling mad and like you don't have a say. And so you just want to shut it out, right? But I've done all this research, and Congress did a lot of research, and people at colleges do research all the time. And there is so much research that indicates that when parents are involved in education, period, and specifically special education, the kid gets a better outcome. The whole team gets a better outcome. And so I'm in this for the kids. And what I want to give to you, and I want for you to listen to this really carefully. What I want to give to you is I want to give you efficient services. I want to give you products where you can get the information that you need super duper efficiently. Um, because there is an imbalance of power. There is an emotional component to it. There is so much to learn. Um, and you've got other stuff that you want to be doing. So my goal is to give you information quickly, efficiently, and affordably. Um, and so what I've designed for you is this video series. It's called the IEP Guru Academy video series. And what the IEP Guru Academy is it is a series of videos, very short, power punched. I don't want to punch you. Power packed videos. Um, we're gonna get over to a script because I feel like I'm rambling. I have this outlined and I haven't even looked at my outline. Power packed, short, cheap videos that talk to you about really specific topics, but they all tie in case you want a bigger chunk. Okay. They're going to follow themes. Right now, I have 3 themes coming out to you next Monday in 6 days. The first theme is on inclusion. We'll dive into this a little bit deeper in a second. The second theme is on um, negotiation, advocacy, and teamwork. And like basically like listen to me kind of theme. And then the third theme is on popular responses to common things school teams say. An example there, because that one's a little bit weird to describe. An example there is like, what do you say when they say, we just don't do that here? Okay. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more. Now, I've got other themes planned and I've got other products planned. But we wanted to launch this with kind of a chunk. So we've got 9 videos coming to you, 3 from each theme, 3 inclusion videos, 3 negotiation advocacy teamwork videos, and 3 common or good responses to common things that school teams say, 3 each of those. They're gonna be available in little, cheap increments, or you can buy them in bundles. You can buy 3 at a time. They're bundled kinda together, so you can buy 3, if you want, like, all of the ones in the negotiation advocacy teamwork bundle. You can buy those together at a cheaper price, or they also, are going to be available completely at no additional cost over in the membership. And so the membership, which is now called the Collaborative IEP membership, of course, you know that has the binder in it. The binder is just chock full of communication templates. Um, this week, one of the templates is on how to take data at home and like what kinds of things you might be taking data on besides just IEP goals in order to facilitate better communication on your IEP team. There's templates for the Sunday email, for an All About Me book, for requesting a meeting, for voicing disagreements after a meeting, for discussions before a meeting, for how to prepare for a meeting. Um, then you've got all kinds of guides like preparing for a meeting and a guide on executive functioning and a guide on sensory supports, that kind of stuff. Um, and then you've got, let's see, checklists like check, 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 check. I'm going to do this before a meeting. Or these are the things I'm going to do during the meeting. Um, and then you've got the inclusion workshop, the behavior workshop. All of this is over in the monthly membership. I am trying, no promises, but I am also trying to get us guest speakers, or at least to get you some conversations that I've had with professionals that are recorded in other places and are not available online. I'm trying to get those too. I just honestly have been kind of all hands on deck with this right now. So my next focus is our conference, which is going to be in January. Probably we might move it to February because we're a little behind schedule because of the stupid car accident. Um, and then, and Rachel, when you're hearing that, Rachel, if it's the podcast. Oh, we might move it to February? Yes, I'll talk to you about that sometime this week. This is how we work here at the Collaborative IEP, you guys. It's perfectly imperfect. Um, and then I wanna kinda, like, dive back into, um, even getting better services in the membership. But those IEP Guru Academy videos are all free, included in the price of the membership, okay? And the membership, if you want there's a 3-day subscription, 3-day free trial. So if you are interested in that, you can hop on there and see what's in there and have access for 3 days. Okay. So, why did I do this? What have I heard from you? What have you said? There are 10 themes that I have heard from you via market research. The first one is lack of knowledge and lack of awareness. That is certainly intimidating, and I get it. I feel you. Communication and dismissal by school teams. How that imbalance of power makes us feel um, is immense. And how to communicate with school teams, therefore, becomes really, really important because otherwise we do feel dismissed. We feel like nobody's listening to us or like they don't think we have valuable things to add to teams. This one surprised me. This is why it's so important for me to ask these questions. Fear of losing services and support, which kind of, I think to me, as I read like a little deeper into what people said, went to fear of retaliation. And so I think that kind of goes to like building better collaborative IEP teams, like really trying to get teams to function better so that you feel like you can speak freely without worrying about um, adversarial, destructive, negative conflict. Concerns about true inclusion. So, how do I get inclusion? What does it look like? What does it mean? What is LRE? Um, how to get past like people's values and interests around inclusion, like certain kids just don't belong here. That was a big theme that I saw a lot. Behavior supports and behavior understanding, particularly kind of an undercurrent to that was um by way of inclusion, like when behavior keeps you out of inclusive classrooms. In fact, there's a specific video to address that one because that was probably the most popular theme that I saw. A lot of people talked about the emotional impact and the stress. Now, I asked specific questions about those negative emotions, um, and we got good information because of that. So I don't know if that's because I targeted it, or not. And then, kind of like the next things are that you asked me for more specific targeted skills in negotiation. This was interesting to me because I was like, what do you want to know most about? Negotiation strategy, special ed, practice, or um uh or legal stuff, like the legal framework. Those three things, right? Because I say those are the three things you need to know in order to be a good advocate. Completely even across the board, which was really reassuring to me because I feel like I might talk about negotiation and advocacy strategy too much. And you all were like, no, we want to know about how to teach reading. We want to know practice. We want to know behavior supports, practice. We want to know the rules about LRE, legal. We want to know the rules about how parents have to participate in meetings, legal. And we wanna know how to get them to listen to us and how to be more empowered at the table. Um, and so all of that kinda comes to these, like, collaborative themes that came up with, like, the idea of building positive relationships. So, what I've developed for you then is, I've developed this video series called the IEP Guru Academy, where you get 12 to 20-minute videos. Honestly, I was shooting for 12, and that is extremely difficult, um, that are on specific topics, okay? And so what I thought I would do is I thought I would pull up a few of, or pull up those, topics so that you could hear specifically about what we are doing. Okay. So in the, okay. So the first series that we'll talk about is called Powerful Responses to Common School Team Comments. Okay. So the school team says, for example, we just don't do it that way. And then what does the IEP guru say? What can you say? How can you respond when they say we just don't do it that way? This series literally has a list of questions. Here's the idea on that series. I'll like give you a little sneak peek. The idea here is that school teams say things, whether they intend to or not, that like completely shut down a conversation. We just don't do it that way. How in the heck do you respond to that? That's a no. And each one of these videos starts out with like little quote from me that basically means to me, no does not mean no. No means we need to think creatively and collaboratively in order to come up with something that is yesable, something that we can negotiate, like we can each come off of our position and do. And so I give you lots of strategies to use interests and values in order to get off of that no. In fact, at the end of each one of these videos, I give you a list of questions that you can ask or things that you can say in order to foster additional communication and collaboration in those things. So, um, we just don't do it that way, is one thing they say. Another thing that they say is your child is doing fine with their current supports. That is really common when you're actually trying to get BIEP, as well as when you're trying to like add supports or add a particular curriculum. Especially in either behavior cases or reading cases. You're trying to get Orton Gillingham, and they're like, well, this mishmash of things that we're doing is fine. Or you're trying to get the IEP, and they're like, well, this is working. And then the third video is we don't have the data to support that. And so how do you respond to that, right? Then that's okay. So that series is called, again, Powerful Responses to Common School Team Comments. All right. The second series is on negotiation, advocacy, and teamwork. And the first video there, in no particular order, is called From Tension to Teamwork, Harnessing Conflict for IEP Success. This might be my favorite one, because we're talking about the C word. We're talking about conflict and how, like, embracing conflict, how basically what we're talking about is how conflict can be good. And don't shoot the messenger. I hope that I'm intriguing you so that you are interested in this one. Um, I want for you to understand that when we really can have good conversations in IEP team meetings, we can push the envelope and we can really start to get some change. This is really good when things have turned conflictual and basically, like, how we take that bad, destructive conflict and we turn it into something that yields teamwork. Um, so I was really excited about that name, From Tension to Teamwork. Frankly, this is something that I did with my own IEP team, and there's a lot of strategies in there that I, like, seriously sat down and thought with my mediator hat on, "Okay, how do I do this?" And in fact, yesterday, I kinda disarmed somebody in an IEP meeting with some of these strategies, and I was like, "Yeah, if you just back up a second and you think about how, like, what's happening with the people," which is hard, admittedly, because there's, like, subject going on too, right? Like, we're talking about behavior supports or something, but you also have to get past the people. And so taking the tension with the people and turning that into good ideological conflict that helps to move the needle, that's the goal here. Um then another one, this is like maybe one of the top 5 things that happens when clients come in. Clients come in and they've been stuck at just advocating, like, "I want this," and they're stuck on their positions, and they don't know that they can and usually should negotiate. Like, try to bring everybody to the middle, try to come off their position a little, like a little give and take. Or even compromise. Say, I'm willing to let this thing go in order to get something that I prioritize more. So I've got a video on, it's called Finding the Middle Ground in IEPs, when to negotiate and when to compromise. We also talk about advocacy, like staying true to your word and not coming off your point. Um, so we start with definitions of advocacy, negotiation, and compromise, and then I give you strategies for each and when they might be applicable. This one has a really nice Venn diagram in it that I worked really hard on. Um, okay. And then the third video in our series on advocacy, negotiation, and teamwork is called The Heart of It All, Interest-Based Negotiation. And so you've heard me talk about interest-based negotiation here. It's really like the secret to advocacy, the big daddy. This one, I'm gonna tell you, I think this is the one that's 23 minutes. I couldn't do it in 20, but I tried really hard. And so we're talking about how to get people off of their fixed position and how to address interests at the IEP table and beyond throughout the school year, in order to get stuff done on your IEP team. So advocacy, negotiation, and teamwork, um, is, those 3 videos. And then the last series is on inclusion, which, as you know, is near and dear to my heart. And I did not want to repeat things that were in the inclusion workshop, but there are things in inclusion that are, like, really common themes. And so I kind of, like, took the results from your market research and lined those up with my experience and took the top 3 things that I think occur the most often because I wanted to give you really valuable stuff, especially at the outset. Um, so the first one that we can talk about is, let's get one thing straight. Disability category does not drive placement. So the idea here is that schools sometimes say, well, you have autism, you go into this self-contained classroom for students with autism. Or you have Down syndrome, you go to the classroom. Over here, it's self-contained. That's where you check into second grade. Your backpack goes in there. You don't do read aloud with non-disabled kids in second grade. Your home base is in the self-contained classroom. Um, and so what we talk about is the regulation and the guidance that indicates that decisions cannot be based solely on the category of disability, that autism or that multiple disabilities or that certain cognitive impairment disability category that cannot, in and of itself, say that you go to a certain classroom. Um, so that's video one. Video and of course, right, like, I explain the rules, and then I give you strategies for if the district tries that. Then the next video is called, "Adding supports before choosing a more restrictive placement," and we're talking about supplementary aids and services here. So, what the rule says is that, there's this continuum of placements, general education all the way down to home placement and institutionalization, and before we go to the more restrictive setting, every single time we have to see if we can layer on supplementary aids and services. Now we get some really good guidance documents in this one, so I give you like factors to assess and then questions to ask. Like, hang on, did we do this? Did we do that? We talk about the addition of an aid in this one because those can be viewed as supplementary aids and services, additional adult support. Um, and we talk about really good strategies to try to ramp up supports in less restrictive environments before we go to more restrictive environments, because that's what the law says we have to do. And then in video three, another humongous topic, the one that has probably consumed the most of my business since COVID, and that is the idea of behavior and belonging. Um, so the name of the video is Behavior and Belonging. Overcoming barriers to inclusion. So in my practice, I see that there are two really big themes to that like keep people from more inclusive or less restrictive environments, and it's behavior and reading. I wanted to address behavior first because it's happened to me more often in my practice. Um, so, what is keeping us from accessing the inclusive environment? Behavior. Okay, well, how can we add behavior supports and how can we have a discussion as a team in order to get to that more inclusive environment? Okay, so that is quite possibly the longest commercial that you've ever listened to. But these videos, again, are all under 20 minutes. They are power packed. They, when I debut them on Monday, hopefully, fingers crossed Monday. Don't forget, things are a little delayed around here. If you listened last week, Griffin and I were rear-ended, and we're fine, but we ended up we lost a week of productivity because I was fine-ish. Oh, I'm fine. But I am like, my personality just wasn't there in the first attempts of the video recordings because I was in pain. Um, and so, um when they come out on Monday, they are going to be offered at a deep, deep, deep discount, as is almost, if not everything that is on my website. So, humongous Black Friday sale coming up starting on Monday. Humongous drop of these IEP Guru Academy videos. And then this week, be sure to continue to stay tuned for some giveaways. The big I Caramba giveaway is going to be a 1-year subscription to the membership, to the collaborative IEP membership, which will have all of those videos in them. So, it's gonna be a great week. I'm super excited to drop these for you. I'm happy to, like, get them out of my um, actually, today is cleanup day because writing all the social media posts and, living inside these documents for so long has made a hilarious situation of my desk. And so we're cleaning up, we're getting some, projects done around here, and, yeah, we're off to the races. So, thank you. Thank you so, so, so much for your support. Thank you for your involvement. Thank you for participating in these giveaway things. The more that we can grow, um so to be I don't think I've ever said this out loud to the podcast audience, but this is what I keep saying to professionals that are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about your rebrand," whatever. I'm like, "Listen, I have a job. I'm an attorney full time. Um, and I'm a mom and I am very, very fulfilled in the things that I do. But ultimately, I'm not as fulfilled because I want to help more families navigate special education advocacy, navigate the process, improve their teamwork, and to feel empowered at the IEP table and talking to their teams. And I know that there's so much more work to be done there. So, yes, I own a business and yes, I enjoy the income and I want to continue to grow the business. But more than that, I want you to need that. Well, I don't want you to need the services, but I want to get, here's what I want. I want to give you services that you need because that helps you. And if that means that they are shorter and cheaper than I originally planned, amen, sister, here they are. So that's really kind of the goal here is of course I want my business to grow. But more than that, I want to give you the services and the products that you need that you can access, right? That don't intimidate you. I can't make something that's too long for you to watch or too expensive for you to think is helpful. Sure, a $49 video is cheaper than hiring a lawyer, but it still is $49. If it's 12, then you're more likely to actually buy it and then actually watch it. Um, so that's a little behind the scenes of why I decided to consider these shorter videos, even though in the beginning I totally balked. Rachel, by the way, told me to do this at the outset of Ashley Barlow Company in 2020. And I said no. So we will end this episode with you were right, Rachel. And um, Rachel's amazing, my creative director. So again, major kudos to her for getting these videos up to you and their incredible workbooks. And thank you. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.